Are they all like similar? Oh Jesus! Do you know what? It's a little bit like the eye of Sauron. You know, the all-seeing eye.
It
you know,
is,
did you see that? The all-seeing eye.
It's like a third eye.
Tolkien's favourite chocolates. Yeah.
Nice. On today's episode, we have the one and only Irish stallion, they call him. They do now. Dan Wolfe.
Come on, I'm going to use that.
Yeah. Thanks for joining, dude.
The stallion.
Thank you for having me.
The stallion.
Mate, I'm really hyped on this one because I feel like we've recorded probably 7 podcasts worth, 7 2-hour podcasts worth of chat already. And I don't feel like we're really getting close to the bottom of the barrel.
There is no bottom. Yeah.
Hopefully we can
just a long barrel with no bottom, yeah. The biggest barrel.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
No, mate,
Yeah,
sick.
thank you
So
very,
good.
very much.
Furthest travel guest, possibly?
Yeah.
Possibly, for the studio, I think.
Yeah, ferry and a 6-hour drive at sheer pace.
Yeah.
And I'm here.
Appreciate it.
And I made your Christmas party,
You did, and it was good, wasn't it?
which was nice.
Yeah, it was probably like 20 podcasts worth of information at the Christmas party as well. That
And you didn't even tell me to stop.
no, I'm not like
Shut up, Dan.
no.
Keep that.
We're all. It was like a podcast in that it was like good conversation. That's what I mean. I'm not saying
Yeah.
you talk too much.
No.
Well, we'll see in this next.
Yeah. No, I do.
We're all feeling fresh, though. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel all right. I woke up, I couldn't talk, but I mean, we didn't really drink that much.
No, we didn't.
We
We're
can't-
quite light. I'm
we
quite a
can't-
lightweight now, but
we can't sell this as if it's like the full-on day after a Christmas party, can we?
No, it's not a real like Christmas. There was no scandals. It wasn't weird.
No.
yeah, it's
It
true,
was actually very
Office
pleasant
scandal.
and normal and chill.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get with Ollie or anything strange.
No.
Definitely didn't. And you didn't need to bring it up either.
Sorry,
because it didn't happen. So
Sorry,
yeah.
Sorry.
No,
too good.
I find it weird though now that I lose my voice so much drinking the smallest amount of alcohol.
It's just age, yeah.
Or is it age? Is it shouting?
It's
shouting.
It's having fun
Yeah.
because we were shouting
We were
on the way
shouting,
home.
but yeah.
We were just screaming.
Oh, yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
So yeah,
No, I feel I'm 85% okay.
that's an A.
It's
A
an
minus,
A. A
but it is
minus.
an
Yeah,
A.
A minus actually is A minus is accurate.
Solid.
I just getting older. Drinking's not for me. And we didn't have
No.
much, man. We had like 4 drinks, but
But
like
we nearly went mad.
Yeah.
it was tipping point
Oh,
for
it
me.
really because I
If
could
we
see
hadn't come
twinkle eyes
home,
over
like-
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was getting.
I had a twinkle in my eyes at one point. I felt like you had a twinkle in your eyes, and you had.
Yeah,
a
I
twinkle
probably
in
would have
your
done it.
eyes. You had a twinkle, and there was a twinkle.
Yeah.
There was a few twinkles.
There was a few
It
twinkles.
could have
yeah.
gone. If we'd
And
just
it was-
walked past that one bar that was
it-
like playing music that we
Yeah.
all liked, I think then it would have escalated.
Hey, we actually went to an American sports bar, dive bar theme,
Yeah, because we love sports.
which check this segue out, which is also where I first met you very recently as well, huh?
That was nice. That was nice.
Appreciate it.
You should have stuck
Right?
it.
Yeah. Oh, it is
Yeah.
true. Sorry. Yeah, Rampage. Yeah.
Which is weird. We were talking about it a minute ago. Feels a bit weird. We're repeating conversation.
Yeah.
But it is weird. It's weird to have like been in it
Yeah.
for so long and not met. And I feel like we got on very well when we were at Rampage. And
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think that was pretty evident with the Pinkbike coverage that I was. I had my favourites, and every day there was another video of the 3 of you lads, and me asking you ridiculous questions and talking about lad science and maths and all that. But
That's It's a great point you've just mentioned, like just casually dropped in the Pinkbike thing. So maybe we should just do a brief overview of who the stallion Dan Wolfe is.
the Stallion.
And
Oh
then,
yeah, true. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then people, because
In fairness,
I'm
a lot of
guessing
people-
most people are going to know,
Well,
but some might not know the extent of what you
some
do.
may know, but some probably a lot don't.
Hey, let's bring it back to the beginning.
Let's.
Tell us about your early days riding. Dan.
Yeah, well, there wasn't really mountain biking back in the day, and I did. I started off doing downhill World Cups, and I'm a similar age to Brendan, so I actually raced downhill World Cups with him. But instead of doing amazing like he did, I'd barely qualify. And then after a few years, I was like, "Can we curse in the podcast?"
Yeah.
Then after a few years, I was like, "Fuck this, I'm not doing very well." And then I went off to live in America and drink and
Oh yeah, you were saying
Talk
last
to women
night.
and stuff
You went to Chicago.
lived in Chicago, worked in a wedding designing company, like set up weddings and fucking did like floral design, all this stuff, and like stuff I never thought I'd do. And it's kind of cool, I guess, looking back. I'm like glad I did it. Gave me a new perspective, and kind of realigned, like, wait a second, like, I've unfinished business with the bike world, I want to make it happen. But being around for ages, did World Enduros then for 10 years and a decade, like, mad.
Wow.
And got in with Pinkbike over 5 years ago. I kind of like I'd be a bit of an on the ground reporter for them, I suppose, but just like I'd also be racing. So it was all just phone based stuff because that's all I could obviously bring around. And then from that, just told them earlier in the year that this year was going to be my last year racing World Enduros. And I wanted to do more events with them, and went on and did Swatch 9s, and then I did Rampage and kind of did a little bit of presenting there, and they're like, ooh, you know, you're not awful at that, like, so now it's like progressing.
That was their words, not awful.
Yeah, it's not the best comment, is it? Yeah. Wasn't awful, may try, use you again. But and then I was running their social media on and off, like Hannah Knapp, who's their social media manager. She runs actually 2 accounts. She's been amazing. She's like been so transparent with all the information, like let me in, help me, and now I'm helping her with the Pinkbike account,
right?
And it gives her more time to do velo, so I do like more of Pinkbike, I guess. And just like a groundskeeper, social media.
Yeah, what's your job title? What do you think it is?
I don't know, because I'm a freelancer for Pinkbike, so I freelance for them. I mean, I don't know, do you get a title? Like, could you call yourself social media manager? Or
you can.
I am the Pinkbike social media manager. But it is cool. It's bizarre. Like, I grew up with Pinkbike, so it's kind of bizarre. And this is like just one of those things where you never know what's around the corner and what doors might open when another door closes. And I never would have expected to be in this position, but I'm learning a lot and I really enjoy it. Has kind of realigned that I overall prefer being at events and love being amongst it. Just the buzz of event. Yeah.
Is that
I
from
love
being a racer
Rampage
all this time? Yeah.
It might be. And just standing on the edge of lips in Rampage and just being like, you know, I'm kind of calling myself out here. I'm not actually going to do this stuff. But you're like, would I do that? Would I? And then party's like, maybe that, like, one, but basically nothing else.
I think you have
it's
to.
interesting. Like,
I think probably why you've had such success in it is because you offer insight. And I think to offer insight, you can't be walking around like, no, that's stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. I wouldn't do that. No.
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of like opinion on it, don't you?
Yeah, I guess like coming from racing and have done downhill and then enduro, and like, you know, those sports are all about speed management, and then now getting to go to a few free ride events, like I said, I did Swatch 9's epic, and then Rampage next year will probably be like Hardline, and I don't know if you'd call that free ride, but it's like its own thing, and then probably Sam Reynolds' Darkfest.
Yeah.
They should call it really Bright Fest though, because it's so much nicer than where we'll be in. What is it, February or whatever?
Yeah, you are right. Yeah.
But yeah, like you do kind of have, like, it's a bit alien because these jumps are massive and I'm not used to that. But you still, like, all the fundamentals are the same. So, and it kind of, I feel like you have a bit more reverence then, because you're a bit like, I'm really impressed by everyone that does this stuff.
Yeah.
But I can kind of relate as well. So it's just enough knowledge that you can see it for what it is, but you're not numb to it, because I'm so used to, say, downhill World Cups, and unless someone does something ridiculous, that a line that I wouldn't have even spotted, you know, that's going to get my attention. But all the standard stuff, I'm like, oh, well, that's normal. I mean, that's the speed you'd ride that section.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up in Ireland, and how did you then get to the World Cups?
Yeah, actually, Ireland, like, we have always been quite far behind the UK for, like, the riding scene. Like, obviously you have a much bigger population, but you've so many more bike parks. Trail networks were developed much earlier on. Like, all that stuff. Like, when we started biking, there was already, you know, Steve, Pete, Rob, Warner were paving the way. I'm racing, say, 24 years. But when we started, there was no real trail networks. It was kind of riding, like, footpath, like random fucking goat trails. And so me and my brother used to just make, like, lips in the woods, or what I told you earlier, but it is a classic. We used to wait for the tide to go out near our house, and in Sandy Cove Pier, if you know Dunleary area, if you're Irish listening to this,
leave a comment.
We would leave a comment, like, subscribe, comment below, and we would so
good, natural.
But we would drop off the pier to flat when the tide was out, And Jared was like, it's good for you. You're building your wrists. We're building all the things we need to. And I'm like, are we? Because it seems like unnecessarily, it's like it's sore, Jared. It's fucking sore. And he's like, no, it's good for you. It's good for you. He's my older brother, classic older brother. He's like, you do it first.
So did your older brother get into it first and then you followed?
Yeah. He got a magazine, he got MBUK from Eason's, and he was like, what the hell is this? And yeah, he kind of like was the catalyst. He pushed it, and then Santa arrived, got the mountain bikes. I snapped mine fully in half.
At the pier?
No, actually, fully enough, we'd just done a load of dirt jumps, and I was like, man, my bike's feeling mint. Turns out the head tube was already cracked through, so when I was bouncing up and down, it was like nearly ripping the head tube off, and then eventually I hit a corner hard, and it just fully snapped in half, and I wrecked myself. Everyone laughed at me.
Do you think that's Irish?
I still haven't got over
the
that.
Irish way, would you say?
There's, and this is why, like, I find you guys really relatable. Like, I feel like, from watching these over the years, like the banter you have, everything's taken with a grain of salt. It's a kind of a baptism of fire. Everyone gets the same treatment. It doesn't matter how big of a deal you are. You're still one of the lads, and or one of the gang. And that was growing up in Ireland. But we just didn't really have tracks. So you'd have a lip. You jump that to flat a few times. You're like, should we build a landing ramp? Get a few pallets out of a skip, case that over the bars, right, move the lander back. Different things like that.
I'm not like crazy versed in Irish downhill history.
Yeah.
Obviously.
There's not. Yeah.
But like, obviously you said P.E. Warner, they're all out there doing it. Did anyone from Ireland?
Yeah, actually. So when I grew up, you had all like Steve Pete and all, like, we'd look at Jews across the pond, and then you'd G. Ashton coming through, and it was amazing, like Beaumont, all them. But for us, we'd like Glenn O'Brien, Colin Ross, Hornshow, Ben Reid, Jamie Poppin. Those were the big, and John Lawler. John Lawler actually does all Vital MTB stuff. He's amazing with the camera.
Okay.
And that's what makes, like, being a good rider, he knows where to stand. That's why Vital Raws have always been so good, But
yeah, because Lawler raced, right?
Yeah, he raced. He's been national champion and all that. So I grew up seeing them, and I was like, by the time I was 15, I was like, I want to start getting fast time of the day. Like, I want to beat them. I was very confident in Ireland for whatever reason.
Okay.
And I did get, like, I was getting fast time of days when I was under 16, and like was
so
national
there was
champion in
things happening.
categories.
There was races. There was like
there was
a bit of a seed.
The thing was, there was a missing link in. There was no information sharing, or at least with the youth. So with us, and when you'd go away, that cookie would just crumble. You wouldn't know what to do with yourself.
Right.
The confidence would just go because there wasn't many Irish people paving the path. And I don't know if this would have been the same for the UK, or because UK were in the scene kind of from the get-go. Like, I don't remember not the UK riders not being amazing. So it's kind of like, oh, well, we can do it because he did it and he's down the road, or she did it and like she did it. I can do it too. And like, there was all of that. Whereas in Ireland, it was like Ben Reid like he was ruffling feathers, like making things happen. But you're like, oh, but he's from Northern Ireland. Like, I never rided him. I don't really know him. And you're like, shit, can I do it? Like, because the Nordy riders were really quick. But me and my brother were like, oh, is that because, like, they're British? I'm not starting like any drama here. But you're nearly like, is there a psychological thing there?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Right.
But then there's like little things that happened along the way, and now you've got Ronan Dunn and Oisin. Because there's been various riders, and like whether I played a part in that or not, I don't know. But there's been various riders that have like gotten their names out there or done well along the way.
Carved a bit of a...
And now I see them talking about it, and they're like, we're not here to partake, we're here to take over. And you're like, that is just confidence. I wouldn't have even done as a joke back then. I wouldn't have even done it it wouldn't have even come into my head. I didn't have it. So it's definitely been a journey for Irish riders.
I'd say you were at that exact same time, you were in the centre of, with Petey there.
Yeah.
Like that was like the most extreme version of having like someone to look up to, having someone that's already showing you the way. Like, I guess you've seen how it's like affected where you live.
Like the Sheffield scene, 100%. Yeah, it's something that I probably don't put enough thought into, but yeah, for sure, dude. Like, I remember, because obviously I didn't find mountain biking properly until I was a little bit later, but just being able to just, well, obviously, again, it's sort of a bit cliquey, I'll be honest, but like, just having a bit of a scene there that you can jump straight into, there's always people riding, there's always new tracks being built, there's pros around all the time, and it's like...
And that normalises it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we didn't have pros.
I would honestly, a lot of what you're saying resonates with It sounds just like when we were younger as well,
Right.
where you had the magazines, but they felt even. But I think that's almost like before internet thing.
Yeah.
Everyone feels like they're on their own little
I think
islands. Pardon.
Yeah.
But everyone does feel like they're sort of like separate, don't they?
I think as
Like-
well, when a scene like that evolves, it's not just riders, it's media people, it's industry job. So
Yeah.
you start seeing so much more opportunity, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe I don't have to be a pro rider to make a living.
No,
but
no.
I can be a, you know,
for sure.
journo or whatever.
I think looking back though, I can see so much of it is psychology.
Yeah.
It's like perceived value of yourself, like the ability, like what you could amount to. So seeing potential in yourself, believing yourself, and then just going for it. And some people have that because maybe they've traits that they've traits in themselves, just like inherent traits that just like lend themselves better to it. But yeah, I definitely think Irish people, like, they're used to being underdogs, and they nearly prefer it because that's something they're used to. So they like to rise up rather than be at the top and then sustain.
Right.
And I think, you know, that's been a really interesting thing, is like I've had a lot of time to mull this over, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, well, why didn't I, you know, at a few moments like Val de Sol World Champs 2008 as an elite, my goal was just to go mental the whole way down and see if I could pull it off. Now, I was top 10 in the world by the halfway point, and now I had a crash. And then my bottom split, I think, was still top 20, but I ended up like 40th or something at that World Champs, which was still my best World Champs at that point, but it actually would have been like easily a top 20, which would have, like, for me, would have been just such a massive deal. But I never really, like, even at the top before my race run, I was like, I'm just going to go for it, but see what happens. Like, I didn't really go, like, I'm going to go for it, and I know I can do this.
Okay.
Do you get me? Whereas
Yeah.
it's interesting now with, like, my confidence, and say if I'm like running someone's social media, or where I should stand when I'm at an event videoing, or the type of speed, if someone's coming in and they don't look right, like, there's so much more stuff I know now, but I'm very confident about it, and my work then is better because of that. It's just like so
Yeah.
much of it's in your head.
We talked about that ceiling that you put
Yeah.
on. And I wonder
It's
whether
really stuck
there's-
with me when you said that as well.
Yeah, well,
Like, it really has.
I wonder whether that's like a a thing, being from an island.
Oh yeah.
You feel like there's a ceiling or whatever. I think everyone feels it, whether you know it or not. You feel like there's like you've got that, like, this limit.
Yeah, I lived in a bungalow. I mean, that's why Stevie Smith, it's hard for us to believe it now. You're like, Canadians are absolutely rapid, they're amazing. But no one had done it properly until Stevie did it.
Yeah.
So for them, they're like, oh, like, we're good, and there's a scene, and certainly a freeride scene, but like, can we actually make it as racers? And that's hard to believe. You're like, really? Canadians thought like that? There was a time when they did. So once again, it's just like, someone needs to pave the way. That person's special, and then, or people, or group, and then it's like, oh, it's been done. There's no mystery anymore. Even if there's still actually is a mystery, as like, what steps do I need to take? You don't care, because you know there's a path there. You just need to find it, and you'll get it, right?
Yeah.
Or the end result is there, and you're Canadian, they're Canadian, we can do it. So there's a massive thing with that now.
That's a great one to think about, the
You know.
Stevie Smith path that he, you know,
Yeah.
and now look at Canada and the talent that comes out of there and
Insane.
everything. Yeah, you're right.
So what's the path like in Ireland now? Like, you got bike parks now. How does it differ
Yeah.
from when you were younger?
Yeah, well, we definitely didn't have bike parks. We used to ride in various mountains that like, people would just walk in recreationally, and like, we were, you know, we'd get given out to and screamed at, and
Yeah.
what are you doing here? You know, you're not allowed to be here, you shouldn't be here. And you're just thinking, that horse is walking up and down here wrecking the place. Like, I'm just skidding around, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's changed a lot more. People are like, oh, like, biking's an actual viable sport. It's a really healthy thing. I think also the world has changed a lot. Like, you know, people, they lift you up now if you're doing something healthy, like for yourself, for your mind, or for your body. So they're like, oh, that's great, you're getting out there and having fun. Now, obviously, some people are like, it's pretty dangerous, but I think, you know, biking in comparison to road cycling is, you can control the variables more, like, with the danger, I would say. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's come a long way, but there's still, like, insurance is the tricky thing, and that's the world we live in now as well. You can't have a bike park without insurance, and I think it's hard for, I think Irish bike parks have to actually get insured through a company in the UK. I
Is
think,
that right?
Because the type of companies that would give insurance out to something like that, they're huge, and I don't think an Irish company insures the Gap, which is where I go.
Right.
And that's only half an hour from my house.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to have that amenity. Like
Yeah.
it just, like I'm very grateful.
And that's a recent thing.
Yeah, 6 years.
Is it? Yeah.
And before that, you know, you'd be building kind of illegal trails, but it's all hand done. So
I have this like idea though that Ireland's got loads of wilderness and mountains and greenery, but
it does,
I don't really know it
but
like that
it's
well.
also one of those things, like certain areas might be national parks. So you're like, all right, well, I better not build there. And then other places, like say, if you're thinking from an enduro mindset, is like, well, or you can just call it riding a bike. You're going on a spin, so we need fire road access. But then if it's a place like that, it's probably Coillte owned. Coillte are the Forestry Commission in Ireland. So Coillte then would be either logging, or we were kind of like vermin to them for a long time. And now there's a much better understanding, and they've put in trail centres, but trail centres to a standard mountain biker, unless they're at a very high level, like you're not really into them. You're like, oh, I'd rather build some pirate tracks. Yeah. But then it was one of those things like, look, if we're putting in these trail centres, and they have gotten a lot better, in fairness, they really have, like fair play to Coillte. But if they put in them, they kind of want you to respect it and not then build pirate trails. So it's one of those things, it's like, it's still one of a grey area, like how and where you can build tracks, but then you also need a certain amount of infrastructure. But with that infrastructure comes walkers.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful with the walkers, because, you know, if they're walking down one of your tracks or up it and you hit them. So you're trying to go to areas that aren't as busy, but then they're less likely to have fire roads or whatever. And I'm not going to be pushing up the side of a hill unless it's a little section. I'd rather just pedal back up and drop in.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm weirdly, like, I don't know, lazy or something.
Or fit. Because I'd rather push up.
Would you rather push up? Yeah.
Pushing brings me back to when I was a downhiller in Ireland.
Does
because
it?
we didn't do uplift days, so it was just like, we just used to section stuff.
Yeah.
So I either dirt jumped or I rode my downhill bike at a race, or sometimes I'd push up a track and just section it.
Exactly.
But like my calves, like the just calf pump you'd get. So like now, when I finished at World Enduros, but the amount of hiker bikes we've had over the years, like in fairness, it's been epic. Like been to some really interesting places, but you'd always get a hiker bike and you're there just like calves are pumping up, and I just can't help but be transported back to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And you're just pushing up something, and I'm like, oh, cheer. And he's like, just do it. Shut up.
I weirdly can't even. I don't feel like my day's complete if I do an uplift day like the other day. I don't feel like I've really done a day's riding unless I do some form, which is really weird. I never thought that'd be the case.
Yeah.
Because I was exactly the same, just jumps or push-ups.
Yeah.
And now I really want to climb, and I want like a full loop, and like
You're like a sheepdog. You need to be worked.
a little bit now. Yeah, I do feel that way. Even dirt jumps,
Use up
I
that
struggle to
energy.
spend a day at the dirt jumps.
Right.
Now. I want to like do a cross country ride first. And then go to the
Interesting.
dirt jumps.
Interesting.
Like my, I guess your picture of mountain biking changes a bit, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. And I actually am so grateful for this sport, because it's always evolving, whether the tracks have evolved, the technology, even the disciplines, that I've always been kept interested. It's so good. I just absolutely love it. The longer I go through life, the more I love bikes.
That's nice.
It is.
It's the dream.
Yeah.
So you came back from America and got straight into enduro. Is that like the birth of enduro? Is that how it worked?
Yeah. So it was just happening when I was living there, and I was like, ooh, if I could just like get really fit and then be quick at downhill, I'll be perfect for enduro. Now it was a bit naive, because it turns out you have to hold on to that bike for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and these arms were pumping up. But so I don't really know if enduro was my calling, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, that was when it was happening, and I was like, okay, I'll get back and try to be really quick and get on a team and get sponsored, because once again, like, no one's telling you how to do things. In my head, or from an outsider's point of view, that's how you get really quick and then you become a pro. And then when you're a pro, you get paid. But I know a lot more now. It turns out, there's people on teams you'd be surprised aren't getting paid. They just get a free ride, and you're like, well, that doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
Can't call myself a pro if I'm not actually earning a salary. You're not a professional unless you're actually earning money. And also, as you get older, I don't want to be one of those dudes who's like, oh yeah, like I was pretty good, but and you're like, oh, shut up. I didn't want to be one of them. So I was like, well, I need to figure this out.
How did you keep an eye on like what was happening when you're in Chicago? Were you just?
I was on Vital and Pinkbike every single day watching.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you ride much out there?
Bikes you were,
Yeah, I was like an
Did you ride out there or not?
I did bring a dirt jump out, and I rode. There was a trails, because Illinois, the state of Illinois, is flat.
Right.
So I had a dirt jumper, which I rode trails a bit, but then realised I know I was away from biking, but I still tried to do it. But I realised if I wrecked myself there, because the Americans just send you home, there's no dole, you can't go on welfare if you're there for a visa.
Yeah.
So then I actually sent that back. My friend came over to visit and I was like, will you bring my fixie out? And then I'm going to give you my dirt jumper on the way home. So then I just cycled to work. But that kept me going because I was like risking it all on the roads, and that was really fun. Like, sorry, I shouldn't be condoning it, but it was the time of my life. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, just cycled in and out of work like an absolute lunatic. And
Was it windy?
Oh, the Windy City, yeah.
See?
Nice.
that was the most fake laugh I've heard you do.
Oh, sorry. I'm not good at faking stuff. That was painful. I'm sorry. For all the viewers back home, I'm sorry. He's new to this.
It was a bad joke. But I was hoping you could see the irony in that. But
no,
it doesn't matter. Let's move on.
No, yeah. Well, there was always, a tailwind or a headwind. Yeah. No, we'll move on. But anyway, used to cycle in and out, and I just followed the sport, and I was like, "Ooh, I need to do this. Like, it's a new beginning." And like they always say, if a company sets up or a company develops something new and creates a new market, like they end up owning 50% of the share if they do it well.
Okay.
Because it doesn't matter who jumps in after; they're the catalyst. And I was like, shit, I need to get involved in enduro pretty quick. Would have been ideal if I did it year one, because you had people like Joe Barnes, who I used to get similar downhill World Cup results as Joe, or Greg Callahan, or people like that. And, they gotten straight on teams and got the foot in the door.
Right.
This is not me, throwing digs at them. Like, they're brilliant riders and put the work in and deserve everything they've gotten. But I was like, crap, I need to get on this. And it was funny, I think there was just years of I was getting all right results, beating people on teams, but I was always looking at as a result and this and that. And then I start realizing why I need to network here, but just do it honestly, naturally.
Right.
So then I just start talking to different people in the pits and different brands. And
cool, did you buy a bike and then go do the first
I ended up
couple?
buying a Transition.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to buy a bike that's good, because I got some help off Vitus, and their bikes weren't great back then, and help off a few shops, and I was like, I need to invest in me, so I got a Transition, a bike that was really good, and ended up getting a top 10 at the World Enduro, and it was in Ireland, so, but still getting a top 10 at World Enduro is so hard, really. So I got that, and then all of a sudden I was talking to the boys in Transition, and then they brought me over. And then I rode there for a week and signed a contract and was riding with them for 2 years. And
so that was your first.
Cool, that was my first, big opening. And from riding from them, then FSA came on board, and I've been with FSA for I don't know, I feel 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
So
did you have any openings similar? Sorry to go back and forth, but in the downhills when you were doing downhill.
So
anything like that?
Not there was a few things Fox helped us out a bit, and we had some distributors that helped us out, but really my brother did all the work, and a classic younger brother syndrome over here. I was just happy to turn up and just ride my bike, but I didn't really care or even try to understand how it all worked. And I think the best thing that could ever happen to me, now I miss riding with my brother, he'll ride with me every so often, he's still unreal, but was him stepping away, and I call it going after his normal people career, going after trying to just go, do you know what, fuck the bikes, it's breaking my heart. He was national champ as well, he's an unreal rider, but he wasn't clicking on a world level. And once you've raced World Cups, you realise people can be great riders, but they can't maybe put it together as a racer, and at least they tried, but there's nothing wrong with not being able to qualify, or you should just try it,
Yeah.
But Jared, leaving was the best thing for me, because when I came back, I had to do everything myself.
Right.
Figure out how to work on my bike. From working on my bike, I became much more sensitive to the details, what's actually happening on it. Then I could become a better rider. Then I learned, oh wait, I'm not going to get sponsored unless I put myself out there and try to talk to brands and figure out how that works. Do I make a CV? Do I just have a phone call? What are my skill sets? Everything opened up, because I was forced in that position where it was either move forward and try and make biking my job, which I wanted, or don't do anything for myself. So that I was just,
Dude, it makes you think, you think how pivotal that is your life, that 10th place actually was, really, looking back on it. And then it's it
was
right
8th.
Now, 8th, was it?
Yeah.
There you go. Top,
8th.
that result
Insane.
was super.
I think it was 8,
Well, that was really big in your life, wasn't it? You could have gone, you could have just been really disheartened. You could have even if you just got a puncture.
Well, the chain fell off on 2 stages and I crashed once or twice, but I was like literally so revved up because I did like a few top 3 stages. So I'd done that well on some of the stages that it just worked because I was so revved up.
That's amazing, that, and it makes me. I'd like to hear your thoughts more as we approach maybe a period where the racing's looking like it's in trouble a little bit. The EDR looks like it's in trouble. It'd be good to hear your thoughts on that after the break.
Hey, you could say what we were just talking about was Dan Wolfe optimizing his career. You know?
Hey, you could say. And I tell you what, I wish all that time ago he had a chance to optimize his career as much as we do right now.
I know, mate. Yeah, exactly. So, we are brought to you, as always, by the legends at AG1. AG1 is a comprehensive daily nutritional drink which ticks all the boxes when it comes to looking after your mind and body. All right, you tried it before, Dan?
No, is there a scoop in there? What is
it? That one's empty because it's so good. We just take it all, which is a problem we're always having with Athletic Greens.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I would have hit it.
It doesn't have to be empty, does it?
I would have hit a dry scoop. I would have done it.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be empty. So basically, Athletic Greens, 75 different vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients. If you use our offer code, you are going to get yourself 5 free travel packs, which if you love biking and traveling, come in handy. You always take the travel packs, don't you? Dan does a lot of traveling. I bet he wishes he brought some Athletic Greens with him this morning.
Yeah, I actually get run down. Like, if you do, you can get run down,
yeah. And do you know what else? It doesn't stop there, does it, David?
No, mate, because look at the weather outside, especially in the UK. There isn't much D outside, is there?
No.
There's no vitamin D.
Oh, sorry, because when you said there's not much D outside, I was thinking. Oh, sorry. Oh,
no, we keep it. No, we keep it on the thing. No, so you're gonna get, if you use our code, which is the Ride Companion at drinkag1.com. What was that?
I think it's the Ride Companion at drinkag1.com.
Yep, that's right. Head there and you're going to get yourself 5 free travel packs and a bottle of vitamin D.
That's a year's worth, dude. That's
a year's worth.
Wow.
Year's worth of sun in this tiny little bottle. Well, you can't have it.
Please.
Thanks, AG1.
Thanks, AG1.
Thank you, AG1.
Are we back? I don't even know.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
be.
Sorry, yeah.
Great ad break.
That was a good ad break.
Yeah, lads, these are really good, the ads.
They are good, aren't
Yeah,
they? Good
yeah,
fun,
that's
yeah.
nice.
Hey, we're looking for sponsors for 2024, so please, if you're watching,
Yeah, it's true.
reach out to the boys.
Yeah. Sponsor this.
Hey, what were we talking about before? We were talking about EDR.
Yeah, we were. We were just talking about, how Dan discovered the Stallion, discovered EDR, and then we were also talking about, I guess we could talk about where it's at right now, because it is in a pretty interesting place. And it's cool because you rode the wave. Like, you rode the EWS, as it was called technically. Because I feel like that, for me, like, from outside it then, almost came from nowhere. And I guess a new sport was almost created. A new discipline, a new type of bike was kind of created.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then to watch it like
they've gone through a load of different iterations.
Yeah.
I think as well, like I think it resonated with a lot of people because at the end of the day, they just want to get out and enjoy their bikes, and not everyone has access to a bike park, ski lifts, or an uplift system. And because of the sport booming 10 years on, there are a lot of like ski lifts and bike parks and uplift systems now, but like a lot has happened in those 10 years, and I think enduro had a big part to play in that, weirdly enough, because everyone's like, oh well, I have a bike, and if I just get the gears I can then pedal up the access road and ride my bike down the track, and all of a sudden they're like, oh wait, I've spent the whole day on my bike, I'm really happy, I feel happy. Or some people's not, like some people are not so aware, it's only in reflection when they look back, they're like, no, I was happy, that was good for my mental health, I enjoyed that. But like, I think I've always been pretty sensitive to that stuff. I'm a sensitive boy. I've always been sensitive to that stuff, so I noticed, I was like, shit, like I'm enjoying this. Like, instead of me pushing up a track, blowing up my calves and then risking it all, I can just paddle up, spend the whole day on the bike and just like mildly risk it all. You know, like a mild risk. But enduro's been interesting. A lot of bike development, a lot of change. Because it was new, there was a lot of eyes and a lot of interest, and then after that you see the product, like we can call it a product, gets a lot more refined, and that's when then the big swap comes in with Warner Brothers, and now they don't know what to do with the product or the package. They don't know how to send it out to the world. And maybe it's because it's such a massive company and there's too many people involved or like rights. But the bike community is one of those niche things that you still, to make it work, you need to give pretty lenient rights to all the bike like websites and magazines and YouTubers and whatnot that want to create content because they're doing your job for you. But it's not like another industry where that can work. It's like, no, we're putting up all this red tape and it's still going to do great. And I honestly think that has been the biggest demise for the world, the EDR, the World Enduro, is there's too much red tape. It's harder for people to cover it, so therefore they just don't. Then when it's not being covered, the world perceives it as it's devalued, so it's devalued itself.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, we're gonna call it, we're cutting that budget for the team, or we're doing this, we're doing that, and it's because it's all perceived value, but it's nearly like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like
so
it's
what was the timeline then, just for me as well, of all this and how it played out? So you got, what came first, enduro bike or enduro discipline?
Do you know, I don't even know if I'm the best person to ask, because when I started doing it, I was like, whoa, this is mad. Like, some people have like double chain set up front, and then that person like got a little downhill bike and put a single crown on it, and this person's like raked out an XC bike, and it was all batshit. Like, it really was. It was weird. I loved it. It was hilarious. But I then found out as years went on, it's like the Frenchies and stuff had already been doing this stuff. Mega Avalanche, Alpe d'Huez, like Mountain of Hell, like various events, but they were kind of like one run, but they were very long, and they needed a different outlook than downhill because they had pedaling sections and this and that. So they're like, right, well, we need to create bikes that make sense for this. And then it was through that enduro, I feel like, really started, because it really was born. I'd like to think a lot of it was in Europe. I don't know if I'm actually right or wrong, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but also like and subscribe.
Great.
But yeah, I feel like it was kind of heavy in Europe, and then enduro started, and that's when they're like, okay, there's this kind of cool fucking sport. It's kind of weird, but like, let's try figure it out and give it a bit of structure in the only way we know, which is racing, and it's downhill.
Yeah.
So we'll do it like mini little downhill races, and that's how it was treated at the start. There was no practice bands. There was no like unspoken agreements of we're not going to go out and absolutely snake the shit out of the area. There was people out there in Puntala. That was the first ever World Enduro.
Okay.
Doing uplifts on mopeds. So the mate in a moped was bringing them up and down the mountain for a month. So they were racing it like downhillers, because some of them were.
Yeah.
Like Fabian Burrell overtook Greg Minnaar on a stage in Puntala. Greg Minnaar.
Insane,
yeah.
Because
he would have been like almost
absolutely
blind.
snaking it.
Yeah.
Because other people were snaking it as well. And Greg just turned up like you would now for an enduro and was like, all right, well, I'm just going to ride down as quick as I can for the one practice run I've had. Now, you do get, like, when you've done it for a long time, you get really good at riding blind. So you got this, because you got this like insane database of like hundreds of kilometers of descending different types, so you can just draw on that and go fast. But yeah, it was like really weird back then.
Yeah.
So how did you approach it when you first went? That one that you, if that was your first EWS,
yeah, well,
8th place.
Oh well, it wasn't my first one.
Wasn't your first? So your
If I
first
did that,
one. How
my
did you
first-
approach it? Because you're out of the game.
Yeah.
Did you approach it as like a series of mini downhills, or did you approach
Yeah.
it like a new thing?
I'm actually, and it's interesting, I went into it a lot more confident than when I was a downhiller. I went in going, I'm a fast rider, and I've trained and I'm fit, and that for me, and obviously some people say to do big adventure, like whether it's like ultramarathon stuff, you need a certain amount of experience, but you also need to be dumb enough to do it. Yeah. And that was me. I was like, well, I don't really know what I'm getting into here, but I think I'm great. So I went and did it. And I tried really hard, and I was having my crashes and different things. And then there was a really long stage, and someone was like, Dan, it's really long. Just maybe treat it like you're chainless for a while. And when you're really into the run, then start to push. So I spent the day doing like outside the top 50, kind of struggling. And then the last stage I did like a top 20, and it ended up bringing my result right down to a 30 something, because that was like a 20-minute stage or something huge.
Wow.
But because I rode the whole top really kind of clean and I genuinely didn't let myself pedal, it made me become really present and focused, and I had like amazing energy the whole way down, because if you start excited and a bit stressed, your heart rate goes boom through the roof. You never recover. You just stay in the exact same state.
Oh, mate, I love this stuff. So
it was quite interesting.
So over the years of racing EWS, I'd love to know what your approach is, because you clearly think about these things. So your approach to can we just do a stage? Because I'd love to hear how you race an EWS stage.
Yeah.
EDR.
Well, now, it has actually changed over the years, so now you just have to go as fast as you can.
Is it?
Yeah,
literally,
but as the last few years, like when I started working with Pinkbike, I was covering the events, so I'd be stopping and practice loads to get clips of people. I'd be putting up stories. I'd be GoProing the stages in an effort of hoping that I'd watch them, but actually to make mini edits, which I'd also be putting up on Pinkbike. So I ended up putting the coverage well and truly first, and me as a racer secondary.
Right.
But it was also in the years where I started actually understanding the sport loads. What happened was, just funny, I ended up doing similar results for the first few years that I used to do, but with like less training and actually pretty bad practice, because I'd prioritized the media so well.
Right.
So much.
Okay.
But I had the experience then as a racer of like understanding, like, say, bigger picture stuff. I'm like, well, if I mess up that corner, not the end of the world. There's another 150 ahead of me. So you're more relaxed about it. Now, you're in a hurry, because you need to be in a hurry if you're a racer, but you're not so precious about everything.
Right.
But then there's certain things you'll pick up as you ride down the track. You're like, that is serious. And the reason it's serious is you need to nail that corner, because there's a long uphill grind after it. And if you nail that and you're in the right gear, you're going to give yourself 4 seconds over what you would have been if you didn't take it seriously. So there's certain areas, but you just pick them up instinctively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a racer, you kind of, in enduro, it's very important not to be like easily put off by a mistake.
No, you can't let it affect you. You can't bring that down the rest of the stage with you. You need to, and not saying it's defeatist to go, oh, look, I will make mistakes, because some people are like, oh, you shouldn't have that attitude. You should be like, no, I'm going to be flawless. I'm sorry, you're not going to have a flawless day as an enduro racer. Things are going to happen.
Yeah.
It is a bit batshit, and like that's why when I talk to Polygon, like with design of their bikes and stuff, I was always like, look, we need to work on brake jack and pedal kickback and stuff like that, because your braking can be quite ugly sometimes. So you're flying down a track, and we're not perfect, so sometimes you start to drop your head because you weren't dropping your heels, and you're not actually looking as far forward then, and you're not planning, and then all of a sudden there's that corner just comes up and you're braking really hard because you've broke late. And so your bike, you know, that's why the bikes changed so much, and they actually have changed to suit the sport, because the sport isn't as polished as downhill. It can't be. You know, you've got anywhere from 4 to 7 or 8 stages in a day. Chatel this year, I think, was like 7 or 8.
You can't remember all of them.
Can't remember all of them, but people have become really efficient, so they'll GoPro everything, every stage, chop it up into mini edits, save them to your phone, into a folder. I'll always put them in a separate folder, so I just go into that on the day, and then as I'm pedaling back up to a stage, I'm looking at the stage I'm about to do.
Whoa.
So whatever I've just done, like your GCSEs
Who's
or
doing
your
that?
leave
Does everyone
cert,
do
you
that?
forget everything once you've done the test. Everyone.
Really?
It is so it is so professional, and then you're seeing these clips of people, and I guess you're so used to it now, you see it, but honestly, they rode that track once.
Yeah.
And they are racing at that speed and making it look good. And because I also leg it up, when I finish my race, I'd run straight back up to get the last 30 men and 15 women. So the second I get through, I'd run back up, because I'm just outside that top, like that bubble, which is great. And not because I tried to be in the bubble. Like at one point in my life, I actually was in that top 3 bubble. It was great. But so remember that if you're watching. Respect me. But yeah, like it's mad. But I go back up and I watch everyone, and I just like, yeah, I've ridden it myself and whatever. But I just have such respect for those riders, because they're tired. They've been out all day. Maybe the feed station didn't have food or whatever. But like, they're just such professionals now. They're machines, and the speed they go is like bonkers.
So this is the problem as well. It's like communicating what you're seeing to the wider audience, isn't it? Which I think is where now we have this issue, basically.
I know. And the thing is, it was getting legs, but then more red tape, because it changed hands with Warner Brothers involvement and stuff. And then, you know, this was not mean to be arrogant, but like, say if there's just one of me, right? So a person that maybe has the eye for it and wants to do this, because I was forsaking results to do this coverage.
Yeah.
You can't do both. You can't.
Why were you doing that? Were you doing that you felt a responsibility, or were you doing it purely because it's a job? Did you want you obviously are passionate and you want to make enduro
I love,
as good as it?
yeah, I love the sport, and I did have like a soft spot for it because I thought, wait a second, like, you know, enduro sometimes it gets slack, not even sometimes, a lot. You know, it's where downhillers go to die and retire and this and that, and you're like, I'm sorry, just you come and here, please, like whoever it was, like Bruni turned up to one, I smoked him, lol. And various people like turned up Minar, whatever, to finale, got smoked, and you're like, oh, and it just happens because it's so hard. And Troy Brosnan, little gem, that lad, he turned up and would always do a top 20 or something, always, doesn't matter where it was, and did top 5s. Like, he is unbelievable. But like, and Conor Fearon, like, but it's very hard to do that, and because it's not good enough just riding quick, you have to ride like balls to the wall, like really fast. And for the men and women, like, it is no joke.
So what athletes do you think it suits? Like, what's the perfect enduro racer?
The perfect enduro racer is without doubt someone that does go on trail spins. They have to have that, I'm out for a big day, I'm going to do multiple tracks, I'm never going to do the same track twice.
Yeah.
Never going to do the same track once. But I'm never going to do the same track twice, so you're always getting diversity. You've a kind of a bigger understanding of, like, you know, you've done that now onto this, like, so you're able to keep moving, you don't hold on to stuff. Okay. You're able to like let things go and just focus on what's in hand, and then nothing past that. So, because I did think about this when I'd see some downhillers come over and do very well quickly, and some of them that were just pure downhillers, they would only be pushing when they had all the information, and that's great, but that makes sense for a downhill racer.
Yeah,
that's a World Cup racer. That isn't a enduro racer, because you don't have all the information. You just have parts of it. For instance, like, we'll ride down a track and you're GoProing it, and I'll ride down something and I'll do what I would thought, like, I'm like, I'll see big marks up on the right, I'm like, oh, I'll go over there and I'll just go do that, and then like dip down, I'm like, oh, that was crap. I'll just say it to the GoPro, and then I'll do the opposite in my race run. But I've never stopped to do it.
Yeah.
Because you can't stop everywhere. It's like, you don't have the time.
Yeah, you've got too much trail to cover.
Yeah, and especially for me, because I would stop, anytime I'd stop is to get the phone out. So I was riding gloveless as much as I could, but then they bring the rules, you have to have gloves, but then I'd cut everything out of the glove on this side so that I could get my phone out, and touchscreen, everything would work really easily. You can't fire me now. You can't get rid of me now, EDR. That's the truth, though. I never had. My skin was always bare underneath. Yeah, so I'd cut I cut the shit out of my gloves so that. So I ended up hating gloves because I always had to take my phone out. But yeah, in the end, I'd be stopping because I'm like, oh, there's a crowd here. It must be a hard section. I better stop and video. But I wasn't stopping for me to figure out how to do the section, because I'd just ride it.
Interesting.
You know, so
that's such a strange way of racing these things, isn't it?
I know, it's very strange. Yeah. And you did ask, sorry, and I'm off. I apologise, but also like and subscribe. I apologise. I do go on tangents, and I get
no, it's good,
carried
perfect.
away.
It's the best.
But,
it's the best.
But circling back, I did forsake trying to be a really quick racer, because I got to a point I was like, wait a second, I just really love bikes and I love being around it, but I do notice the subtlety between riders or setups. So I wonder, can I get into that more? And then I was like, pretty good with a phone, and I'm able to still race, because I couldn't give up everything. I still wanted to be in part of it. So I was like, this is the best thing I can do, which would be to cover trackside and part in the race for Pinkbike. And that's what I did. But I realised pretty quickly, I was like, oh, I'm not actually going to ever really get results here if I'm doing this.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that, funnily enough. You always worry as a racer. You're like, oh, will I get to that point where you realise like you can't really do what you used to do, and then you get a bit sad. But it was really nice, like, blending out, because it kept me busy, and it was a new thing to focus on and dangle the carrot as I got a bit slower.
Yeah.
I love hearing about, I like hearing you talk about these. I went the other day with the Focus crew, and they're a bunch of sort of top 40 EDR riders, and I was blown away at the pace down these blind runs that we were going at.
Yeah.
And I really love hearing you talk about like these sort of like just blind riding, like how it is a unique thing. I think I don't think about stuff maybe as much as I should, but there's real technique to it. And like, what was unique to you about riding blind? Obviously you talked about like doing practice, GoPro, pointing those things out, but there's more to it than
so
right?
Dropping your heels, if you drop your heels, it'll like make you lift your head. So if you're going to lift your head, then all of a sudden I'm scanning. When I'm scanning further ahead, I'm planning a route, or I should be. So I'm always trying to look at like where I should be, where I should go, and that's based off like you got your little database of loads of other experiences. You learn to read the skid marks, and not in your trousers, but like on the track, and learn like, is that a braking zone or a shit line? So is that a good skid mark or a bad one? And then you also can tell then the difference of like, no, that was a fast rider that they did that line, because the way they disrupt the soil, that's speed. So you can learn that like on the fly. So there'll be times when I'll just go, oh, I'm up on that bank, because I can tell there was like they pushed in really hard to get up, and then there's like some ruffle of the ground because they've probably braked really hard to go up on the end of like their nose and then drop in to get around a really shit right-hander. And it's weird. You know the way you watch Sherlock Holmes and they like, it's like, I can tell by the piece of fluff on your shoulder that you had Eggs Benedict for breakfast. It's a little like, it's funny, but it's a rabbit hole and you really get into it, because you're reading like, you're like picking up the scent, you're like, high line over there. Like you start reading lines and why, but and it is a buzz if you nail them. Because I remember, I mean, I followed Nico Lau about 7 or 8 years ago in Lake Garda area. Very hard place to ride, especially when it's wet. And to be honest, not really that enjoyable, to be honest, like unless you're doing it well. But he would just come down and go poof up on a banker, Florian Nicolai. Oh my god, big nose pick, just drop in and off they go, and you're just like, oh, like how do you get to that point? And it can take quite a long time. But they were riders that were not born from downhill. They were born from enduro and riding like 3,000-year-old walking paths. They're not made for bikes, so therefore they'd have really acute angled corners.
Right.
I came from downhill, very different corner style.
When you hear like the term flow state, is that unique? Not unique to enduro, but would you say it's something that you get in because you're kind of not at that 100% where it's actually really uncomfortable, like racing downhill?
Yeah, I think though the top enduro riders, or at least I'd get usually a bit flustered in my race runs. Like I probably said to you today or yesterday, like I wouldn't really classify myself as the best racer, but say when I'm riding with my mates and we're riding tracks we've never ridden, it is sheer bliss because we're not hanging around, but we don't have that urgency of being in a race run, because at World Enduros, like it has changed to the point where you do have to go 100% no matter how long the track is. And because of that, depending on the rider and your control over your own emotions, I would get agitated and get into it like, oh god, I'm in a hurry. But maybe I didn't need to be, because the thing is you can stand there and let the bike do the work. Yeah. So I watched Oisin O'Callaghan, he's the Irish racer who won that Downhill World Cup this year. He has the ability to stand on the bike, let the bike work up and down, and then wait for the turn, brake and lean in. I'm there moving and working, and I'm like, I move, you move. It's just kind of what I do, but that doesn't necessarily, it's not necessary, first of all, as a racer, because it's still going to take you 6.5 seconds to get from that turn to that turn, but you've just worn yourself out. Yeah. Or you've sustained a higher heart rate because you're so agitated and you're busy. Yeah. So
did enduro make you more like that?
When I cared about being a racer and trying to get results, I'd be kind of like agitated in my race runs. And then I realised I actually could do okay and kind of rub shoulders with still a decent level of rider, with like no training and just the experience of being like, well, I'm just going to absolutely gun it up that hill, drop in, just suffer like red line, like you can't really see anything, and then just like regain some kind of composure and then back into it, like, you know, further down. And I just like learned all these like tricks, and they seem really obvious to me now, but actually maybe, I guess I haven't talked about them loads. Like I don't know how obvious they are to the public.
Yeah. You know, let's say there's a blind piece of trail.
Yes.
No, right, the top 30 EWS riders, EWR, are at the top. And it's nobody's been down it.
Yeah.
Do they pretty much all go the same way, or do they? Or you know, like if you could watch it from above, like what's it look? And where do you think's best to go? Are you best to go like mid pack, so someone's already figured a bit out, or are you best just to be like the first guy?
Some of them are that confident. Jack Moore practices quite early.
Right.
He doesn't need to see other people doing anything really.
Interesting.
Martin Mays doesn't even I've seen him GoPro some stuff, but I'm pretty sure he never watches it. So he basically never walks any tracks, never GoPros. And he can just do it. He'll just ride anything. And he's actually of the opinion sheer pace will do him well at the end. As in, he is just in a hurry And even if he doesn't get the right lines, doesn't even do them well or doesn't get the right line, he doesn't care because he's working on a average.
Yeah.
So it's the overall average of 45 minutes of racing that he's interested in, or 25 would be the lowest you can ever get at a World Enduro. Like, but generally it's anywhere from like half an hour's worth of racing to an hour's worth. But he's working on that average. So he's like, well, I'm not going to get into any of the fancy stuff. I'm just going to go like the clappers and get it done. And then you've got other people who focus on lines and this and that. And honestly though, like some of those lines sometimes are worth a second or two. Nowadays, because it's taped well, thank God. Now it's sad we have to get to that point, but I think in any sport, when racing, you know, everyone has a different moral compass when it comes to, oh, you're going from A to B there. Well, this isn't taped from here. I guess that's free. Whereas other people are like, no, I'm going to stick to the trail. So I think it's great all that ambiguity's gone. And I just think in any sport that's competitive and there's money on the line, like, you know, like literal careers, some people are going to have a different moral compass on that stuff. But yeah, who would like Jack Moore can practice early. It's interesting because we'd have the same videographer for the last year, so I'd be liaising with him and be like, well, Jack's going to get to the tracks all early, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to get mid pack so I can get the most footage for Pinkbike. So you're trying to get you're trying to get around on Jack's schedule, and that lad just like does a track, he's gone on to the next one. And you met Texie, and Texie will just like follow him in a train, just like full on boom, brain out, just commit. And it's fast, like the tires are dancing, it's quick. Who would be really good at just straight off the cuff?
It's well interesting to me that
I'd put money on Jack for one.
Yeah. It's an average.
Yes.
Like downhill, you're permanent. You're constantly like seeking like a perfection, aren't you? You want to like perfect a race run,
and everything has to be perfected. Yeah, and it was a bad run if you only messed up a type of sector, but everything else was still perfect. But that would still be a bad run.
It makes you think, like, so for Jack, for instance, he's come from just seeking perfection on a downhill course, and then what you're saying about him kind of getting in early, doesn't care what anyone else is doing.
Yeah,
he's treating each stage. It'd be so interesting to talk to him. I find that psychology of like racing really interesting. Yeah, because maybe he's not thinking it's an average. He knows what the fastest line is, and he's going to seek perfection and not worry. And so, and like maybe, it's so interesting because there's definitely not one way of doing it, and they all have. They're working with their skill set, so then their tact is going to be slightly different to each of them. So, like, ultimately, they are all based off that average speed, but some of them need all the details and some of them don't. Yeah. So. And it's whatever makes them feel good. So someone like, I want to get around early, get it done. I'm just going to hit mainline for the most part because the mainline's there for a reason. It was probably kind of the easiest route, but you know yourself, sometimes mainline come around the left and it kind of goes like this, and then another left. But you could just be slightly inside on the left, go out wide, and then drop into the outside of the next left. That's one big left. So there's stuff like that, which I love. I have an affinity for creativity. But you don't have time for that if you're racing, or at least for me anyway, when I'm trying to video people. So my needs went out the window, so I can't really talk for everyone. But I do see people like Jess Melman and stuff like stopping and looking at things. And Remy Gauvin, who was his teammate, a Canadian rider, like Remy, I remember like when it was a Canadian World Enduro, would be stopping every section. And like all of a sudden, like because it's like its home race, it becomes very serious. And he'd get there early but leave late. You know, because he's maximising that window from whatever 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. practice window. Yeah. And like they leave bollocks, but they're so fit, you know, then they just recover and the next day they go at it. It's mad. Mad, it is. Yeah. Go on. Sorry. Well, so it's half an hour of racing. Minimum would be a half an hour. It's interesting to think of it compared to Supercross. I watch Supercross and I love seeing the differences in like how everyone kind of like manages energy. They try and like... Yeah, for sure. It is super interesting, that stuff, yeah. Yeah. A lot of them do. And we spoke about it before, like certain riders who get to the finish line and they're absolutely annihilated, and others are just like, could do it again. Yeah, like, it's wild. Yeah. I've got a question for you. You finished your run. Who are you running up and hoping to get on camera? Who's the most exciting EDR racer to film? Who do you want the most? In the women, I love watching Isabeau. She's just like, when Isabeau's happy and feeling it, she's so exciting to watch.
Morgan Char's an absolute baller. She's the Sam Hill, the female class, like female world. She's a baller. When she's feeling it, like really enjoy watching her. Then the men, there's something about Richie, I have to say, like he's a juggernaut of a man, but he's a lovely combination of precision and fuck it. And it's a strength and talent, combination of strength and talent will get him across the line. So he's happy to improvise and kind of throw his bike at a section, but then he'll do like specific pumps or pedals, or he'll just stick the dropper down and put his head in the stem and just wait for a section to arrive and then dip in. There's incredible wisdom from him, and I think you need to be around it for as long as I've been to even pick up on some of it.
Right.
Like honestly, I think it's kind of a little bit like we talked about the other day, like Bryceland, or maybe it was with Deeks yesterday. Bryson was able to, in his World Champs race run, like sit down from a section and just where people were stood up sprinting, and he had this incredible understanding of the clock. He knew time when he was in a race run. He could feel time nearly, or like that's what it looked like to me as a viewer. So Richie, and sometimes people that make things look easy, they're the people you need to look at the most and go, well, how?
Yeah.
And Richie is like this. He's very interesting rider. He's not a textbook. Just some people go, oh, he's a textbook bruiser. Like he just gets it. But there's loads going on with Richie. So he's actually, and you maybe wouldn't have thought I'd say something like that because you're like, oh, he's just quite tidy. But he's actually a bit of everything. He's not just tidy. He also just does rely on his strength.
Yeah.
Quite a few times. And then people that scare me. I mean, when Jesse's got that bit between his teeth and he's like, I'm going to die or win. I love that.
Yeah.
It's really exciting, but it is frightening. Jack, the way, because he's so tall, so the way he like steers the bike using his legs, that is amazing. And then, if Adrian Daly is happy and vibing, beautiful rider. You can tell Nico Vulios, he's like a ballerina on a bike or something. Yeah, lovely. But there's so many people in that sport that I look up to, and I'm just like,
I think it's interesting that you've got all these perspective and all these different riders as well, because it, switching gears a little bit here, but it's hard to watch for anyone else unless you're there. It seems like the highlight shows, all that sort of stuff. So my question, what's it look like in the future?
Oh, I don't know. They're either going to have to let more people come in and help them, and take away all the red tape, and then figure out what is enduro and how do we package this. So if they're trying to package it to make it a live show, they're going to have to cut the amount of riders that can do it, cut the amount of stages. If it's a live show, they're already pre-recorded the first 2 stages, and then you come into the live show and have it like that. But it's so much more elitist. Then they need to make sure there's another series that's a perfect level below, so the sport doesn't die, because it's not sustainable. If they cut it now, the sport will work for another 4 years, but after that, everything's going to drop off, because people are like, I'm not going to train for something that it's highly unlikely I'll ever be able to get to. So there needs to be like pathways to get to that point, or at least to be still credible or even a pro, but not be at the World Enduro. So there's that, and then the red tape one. It's just like, I've pitched the idea of me going and do kind of a Catro-esque thing where I'll go through on an e-bike. I'll be between the top men and women, so I can still ride down the track. Have a video person go around, get content on it, like show people what's actually happening. I'd be presenting, and I'd be giving like my insights of like how things are deteriorating, because sometimes you get absolutely shocked how wrecked the tracks are by the time you ride them. Shocked.
I think the thing is with sport, any sport, like you get out what you put in, right? And conversations like this, I think, are really important, because for me personally, I've never really watched enduro. I don't
blame you. I do not blame you.
It's difficult to watch. Anyway, you don't have to go over that. But when you have these conversations and you talk about different riding styles, and you talk about all these different approaches, now I'm interested.
Gets you hyped.
Now I'm like, I'm in. Like, I want to watch more. Like, where do I see this stuff? And that's kind of the disappointing thing at the moment, because we don't know. Like,
I know
what it's gonna.
I don't know if I'll be back at any of them going forward, because I'd only go back if I can do a proper show. But like that would involve Pinkbike having to go into the legal side with Warner Brothers and figure out like how can we do that, or is it literally just going to be you're only allowed 3 minutes of race day footage? Well, then like what are we going to make there? It's not going to happen show wise, right?
Yeah.
So something I guess has to happen between the big monsters in the industry. Monsters that I don't mean it to be in a violent way, but I mean like the Titans or whatever, where they're like, look, you know, Vital, Pinkbike, and GMBN or whatever, like, yous bring credibility to different genres of bike riding. Can we work with you? What would you need to make a good show? This is what we need. Okay, we're going to give you that access. They'd be winning, because like, people from the outside would come in, create the content for them. They wouldn't be charging them. And then everyone's winning, because at the end of the day, like, Pinkbike need to create content and Vital need to create content. So everyone would be winning, but it would help legitimize
and the
sport.
Sport needs it. The industry needs it. Like, look at what happened through the birth of enduro for the bike industry, and the bike sales that have happened because of it. And now it's almost like turning that switch off and been like,
And it's just like the stock market. If a few whales pull out, everyone's like, oh shit, and then they pull out too.
Which is what we've seen happen.
Yeah, massively with the teams. And then if next year, like, and I'm not saying, like, you'll never know how much you personally move the needle, but like, if I'm not there creating any content for Pinkbike, and I loved it, but if I'm not doing any of that, and that's not on the table, that's then another that's another thing that's gone.
Yeah.
So and then with more red tape and the ambiguity around, well, is it ever going to be live, or are they going to like televise? Like, what's going on? And then, is it even enduro anymore if it's just mini downhill? If they have to bring it to like 4 stages, less female and male riders, like, does it get to a point where you're like, what is this now? But because they have to package it.
I think you've got to be, if you work for one of these companies, you've got to be batshit crazy if you can't see that it doesn't do a massive service to your event. Ultimately, you're trying to create a show. It's entertainment. Take a look at like easy ones, like case studies like Hardline or Rampage.
Yeah.
Like all of these stories build up, not because of anything you're doing. No highlight video can get across what the people that are there put across. It's like, Hardline with Jono's.
Totally.
Ones. Bernard's
Rampage was a great example as well.
Rampage with your
that
iPhone stories,
the same thing.
Well, it's because I was allowed to just walk. I got onto the social crew in Red Bull, and I was like, look, can I have like proper media access? Because initially we didn't get great access.
Right.
And I was like, look, I
what would that look like? What does not great access look like?
Below that road.
Oh, you can't go up.
Yeah. And I was like, I didn't come all the way over. I was like, I didn't come over here to go to 9 on my iPhone and be like,
see you in a bit, damn.
Yeah. So I was like, look, and luckily they were really sound about it. And this another, like, Red Bull do so well for a reason. They get it. And I know sometimes they've been quite serious, this and that, and they might have opinions in some areas, but at the end of the day, they're there to put on a good show. And they're like, Pinkbike, if we give them the access, they will boost. It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
Red Bull Rampage is a product, it's an event, it's a celebration. Give them the access, let them go up the mountain and get the bangers.
As much as I love the idea of you having to wait outside the Portaloo at the bottom of the hill for the entire day in sweltering heat, I think it's quite easy to see how it added to the event. And like the same goes with like, even like what I think is really short-sighted is to think that Bernard's vlogs of the World Cups, to think that they take away from any kind of coverage or footage. They only add, and they only actually, they're more likely to increase your final numbers, which you advertise on.
Of course.
So
they add layers to a sport. Like, this is, once again, the sport, this isn't football. It's not big enough now. It has grown big for people to be cut down in their tracks.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be allowed to create content. You know, if they don't want to use a GoPro, they should be allowed to use an Insta360. You're only allowed to use a GoPro at World Cups. Like, loads of weird, random shit.
And that's through sponsorship and stuff. Yeah.
And it's just like, look, there's too many rules, like, with some of it. Like, it's just, you're kind of killing the buzz here. And I understand, look, it's, once again, it's a product and everyone needs to make money. But there's definitely ways in doing it. And I don't know. It's going to be one of those things. Either it's going to get to a point where it'll be like, if they get unionized, where they start kind of doing walkouts or just they don't race, they're like, look, we're not racing this weekend. They're like, no, but you have to. And you're like, no, we're not. Yeah. You need to start doing things the way we want. Like, without us, there's no event. And I understand without you, there's no event. So it obviously needs to be done with respect. But the way it's going in some of, like, you know, especially for enduro, I am very scared, because my heart, like, you know, it's 10 years of my life. I'm always going to love enduro. I have a lot of respect for it, but I do not know what's around the corner. I don't know where it's going to go, and I feel very lucky to have called it a day when I did and have new things on the horizon.
Hey, those new things, Davey.
I tell you what is coming around the corner.
What's that?
This ad break segue.
This isn't even our first unboxing, but I'm really excited to do an unboxing.
Oh, I love an unboxing, mate.
Because where we currently are, I don't know if you realise, we are inside the internet.
Yep, we are inside the internet. Very true. Yeah.
And we're going to do unboxing. And am I going to do ASMR noises?
You could do, yeah. Do you want to soundtrack it if you want?
Yeah, because then for people that just listen, there'll be at least some like interest whilst you're unboxing it.
Okay.
A bit. Or we could move the box
close to the mic.
It's a box that really gives away what's in it, right? How would you describe the box?
If I were to describe that box, it would be a sustainable cardboard shoebox.
Yeah.
Thank you for the prompt there. Yeah. I was trying to think of a thing, but it's a shoebox.
And also, we've got a clue behind us.
Yes, there is a clue behind us as to what is in the shoebox.
So in a way, I've already ruined the unboxing.
So this is what the internet loves. It's like little teasers, and then like, oh, they've gone on another, and then you come back.
Yeah. Oh, they said shoe because they're not. It's not exactly the same as that one there.
No, it's not exactly the same as that one there.
Honestly, why on earth would we put a shoe in a fish tank? Find out more towards the end of this ad break. Right, should we do it?
Now we're going to bring it.
See, this is really good. This is really good.
It's actually really good.
Right, so you get that sustainable box, and why don't you start unwrapping it, and I'll start doing noises.
Okay.
Maybe.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is good. Unboxing, dude. Okay. Some of them might be realistic, my noises, but
some aren't.
Oh, it smells nice in here all of a sudden, doesn't it? Doesn't it smell sustainable in here? And I don't mean that in that way. Yeah. Look at that. Crinkly, crinkle, 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 crinkle. Okay, Davey's just reaching in. I don't know what noises to make, dude. I'm giving up. Let's just get them out. There they are.
Dude, I'm stoked that we have got ADIDAS FiveTen Gore-Tex back supporting the podcast.
So this is the Trailcross GTX, right?
It is indeed, mate. It is indeed. And it's probably the best time to talk about the shoe, especially living here in the UK and in Europe, right?
Yeah.
It's coming into wet season, and there's one thing I hate about wet season.
Oh, man.
It's them damp feet.
Yeah.
Those damp feet will ruin a ride, mate, won't they?
Absolutely.
They'll ruin a week.
Hey, dude, what? Do you mean damp feet like the one behind us in the fish tank?
Yeah. But
wrong.
Wrong, exactly, because it's not. And why is it not damp?
It's not damp because it's Gore-Tex.
Exactly.
That's right. It is the 510 Trailcross GTX, and that is completely waterproof. In fact, we've made it so we've actually proved it so well that we have peanut, like the driest snack you can have is probably it's either crackers or peanuts.
Yeah.
And we've currently got peanuts inside this that we just snack on, and they haven't got one bit damp, have they? Even if you go right to the bottom of the shoe,
no,
they haven't got
just
one bit
dust
damp
down there.
Yeah. It's dusty in that
Utah
shoe.
dusty.
It is like rampage dust.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Mate. Yeah. So hyped. I'm really excited. We're going to be doing more with this shoe in upcoming episodes. We're going to go do a first ride, aren't we? We're going to go take them out for a spin. We're going to take a bit more of a deep dive into the features of the shoe.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing loads, and these shoes are going to sit here for a while.
We'll see if those peanuts get wet.
And then we're going to have some peanuts.
Yeah.
Maybe for Christmas?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we'll have Christmas peanut.
Peanuts. Okay, yeah, it's quite seasonal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to read some stuff about it.
Okay, please.
Because there's a laptop down here with a load of stuff about it, and I think that the laptop will do a better job than us.
Definitely does a better job than us.
Right, if you ride in all conditions, the new Trailcross GTX is the best flat pedal footwear choice on the market. The ankle height shoe has a waterproof, breathable upper that renders cold, damp feet a thing of the past. A flexible neoprene hook and loop closure ensures that no debris, water or snow sneaks down your ankles. Oh, that's nice ASMR sound.
Thank you.
The Gore-Tex membrane keeps moisture out while preventing sweat buildup on the inside. I mean, yeah, you're doing a great job on the inside, yeah. It's really quite the shoe.
It is really quite the shoe. I mean, if you're going to do shoes, why not do a good shoe? It makes sense to not have the best shoe.
You're not wrong about that, yeah.
Is there more?
A crew of ADIDAS FiveTen athletes put this shoe through 3 full years of R&D to make sure it was the best companion. Oh,
nice.
Crossbrand, yeah. Available for foul weather rides. 510 pro rider Darren Bearcloth, the Claw, helped test the new Trailcross GTX in his home area of Vancouver Island.
Moist.
Renowned for having high rainfall, eh?
Yeah, for sure, mate, for sure. All right, so if anyone wants to learn more about the shoe right now, head to Adidas, or I guess wherever you are in the world, adidas.com, adidas.co.uk, where you can find the whole range of 510 Adidas Gore-Tex product.
That's right.
Also, one thing I was going to get you, which didn't get you, I'm sorry, because we didn't have time. Right. You can have a little number or name on them.
Can you really? You can get them custom?
Yeah, you can get them custom.
Oh, dude, I need to do that. I need to look into how you do that.
And they kept it nice and simple, just a couple of different colour options, which I think is pretty cool. So black or these nice beigey grey ones. Yeah. Brilliant.
That's right. You can find out more on social media channels, obviously wherever you get your social media, but on Instagram it's at 510_official, at ADIDAS TRX, or hashtag brand of the brave.
Oh, mate. Enjoy the elements.
Yes.
Nice. Thanks, Adidas.
Good unboxing, Davey. I think that was a best one yet.
Yeah, I think so.
Well done, mate.
Thanks.
Shotgun right shoe.
Shotgun left.
No, we got to get better at the segues because we do the ad breaks and then I forget, because the ad breaks are so good. I forget what the segue's about. What was this segue about?
Should we just open this gift really quick? Because I'm mindful that someone sent us a Christmas gift.
Yeah, please.
It'll only take a second. We'll do it really quick.
Please, can we? Yeah.
So it came yesterday. We did ask.
I'm pretty sure that's what I said before the ad break.
Oh, you don't know what it's going to be?
No. It's
God, imagine it was Anthrax.
You were going to do it. You were going to do it. You were going to do it.
Am I?
Yeah, this is a gift that it says on the front someone sent. Who's...
that's the... From Sketchy.
Sketchy, okay. So you're, Sketch.
Do you know what this is or something?
No, I have idea. I ain't got a clue.
Oh, this is cool.
Oh, chocolates.
Oh, nice.
Well, it says edible anus.
Edible anus.
Oh my God.
Anuses.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry, that's just the details like it was sent. What a legend.
What a guy. Edible anuses.
So now you can all, will I say what I'm going to say? Yeah, fuck it, you can take it out. So now everyone can eat an ass and see what that's like. Absolutely disgusting.
Nice.
What
That's a great gift.
Disgusting gentleman.
Merry Christmas. The anus. Edible anus.
Can I just have another look at that?
It's the perfect gift for friends or enemies, it says on there.
That's what it says. That's brilliant.
That is an obscure shape.
We got great listeners.
We do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right.
Well, you can open it up and eat some.
I'm going to eat an ass.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Right, so the actual thing I was trying to segue to was actually content, basically. You've become quite the media mogul, right? You have.
Have
You have. I mean, the responsibility it takes to run an account like you're running. Yeah. As we open the edible anuses.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to
No, let's
yeah, I did learn like the they're all the same. Oh my God. Here, give us one. They're in a ring as well.
Great. Wow, all right.
Here, pop me out an ass.
Yeah.
You got one, dude.
Oh, imagine if they taste shitty.
Are they all like similar? Oh, Jesus. Do you know what? It's a little bit like the eye of Sauron. You know, the all-seeing eye. Did you see that? The all-seeing eye.
It's like a third eye.
Tolkien's favourite chocolates. Yeah.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
That's sick, yeah.
Do I look smart now?
Yeah, you look nice. Different.
Thanks, dude.
The all-seeing... Right. Oh, I'm just going to down mine in one.
Yeah. Tasty.
Nice.
That's sketchy. Appreciate that.
What a legend.
Really nice. Okay. Memory cards.
Oh, yeah.
Dwindling, and we're talking about edible anus. But thank you. So, while you're both chewing your ass, I'll take the reins.
What are we talking about, David?
We're going to talk about...
Yeah.
Okay, so Pinkbike, I guess, that's a great one. And media in general. Let's talk about that stuff. So, when did you first get the opportunity with Pinkbike?
So
and how did it come
would
about?
have been like 6 years ago, when stories kind of started happening on Instagram.
Yeah.
I've never been a real TikTok person, and I'm probably showing my age, but on Instagram anyway, stories kind of came about, and I was like, ooh, be nice to, I start doing takeovers for different brands. I was with WTB and FSA, and really enjoyed it. I was like, oh, cool, I get to give, instead of just this polished thing, which a lot of people get sucked into that idealist world, they're like, this is what's actually happening. I forgot my shoes today, so I have to ride a pair of Nike SBs on clipped pedals. Sick. But you're going to go and do your spin anyway. So anyway, it's a lot more real. I was like, oh, this suits me. I'm not a very scripted person, as you can tell. just kind of say stuff, and I really enjoyed it. So did that with World Enduro. I did a few rounds, and I was like, I asked them, I was like, look, can I do this for you full time? And they're like, oh, we got like obligations with different brands, and then we have to pick a rider, say like a Pivot rider like Eddie Masters, because Pivot are paying us at the next round, and then he'll do a takeover. And I was like, all right, Grant, appreciate the like step, like I did a few of them, thank you. I'm gonna just pitch this to Brian Park and Pinkbike. Got on to him, kind of told them they needed this, and it was like something that, you know, they weren't utilizing, and had a chat. They're like, yeah, like based off the call, they're like, we trust that you've a pretty good kind of social awareness, that you're not going to just post something random like little bum chocolates. I just hit myself in my package there. That was pretty karma. But yeah, they were like, you know, you've got a pretty decent head on your shoulders with like knowing our tone, and because I've always been a big fan of like Pinkbike and their content and stuff, and I was like, brilliant, like I get an opportunity, and I put so much effort into it. Like I said, the racing, I was just like, whatever about the result. You know, at the time, I think I was always hovering around top 50s, or like in it, maybe trying to do them top 40s, but I mostly was like 40 something or whatever. But I didn't, and I know that sounds kind of crap, but actually it's like very hard to do those.
Mate, top 40 in the world. Holy
but,
shit, insane.
But yeah, I was just like, oh, this is like my new passion. It was like really creative. Maybe I'm a weirdo, but like I felt it was really creative, and they were so nice about it. They like just let me do it. They maybe like had chat at the start being like, don't do this, this, or this, and I was like, oh, of course, like why would I do that? Yeah. Now, like, you'd never be allowed the account.
I mean,
because you're a loose unit.
No,
maybe no.
I think the content you were putting out was so engaging, and it was like stuff that we hadn't almost been engaged with, I guess, when you started doing it.
Yeah,
what's weird though is it's gone because it's stories.
Yes, so
is
the
that
stories,
a thing that you think about? It's like you've made all this content, but it's gone.
Yeah, but I was kind of like, stories are funny, right? So my missus Kira, she never posts, but she loves Insta, so she might do stories herself, but she'll like look at she will look at people's stories for sure over posts, say, because posts are a lot more like curated and polished, whereas stories are like, oh, this is what I'm doing right now, you know?
Yeah.
Here's an insight. So I actually kind of took stories like, do you know what, I should take these seriously and I should put a lot of effort in, and so I do a combination of, I start following different riders. That was another lovely thing I got to do, which is no one else got to do, is I'd go up to Adrian Daly or Jesse or some top rider and just be like Isabeau or whoever, and just be like, can I follow you? They'd be like, oh yeah, it's Dan, sure. Because they knew I wasn't like a threat, because, well, I'm not going to beat Jesse or anything, but I'm more interested in like following, have a little chat with, giving people facts about that rider, Kevin McKell or whatever, and seeing their lines and how they approach. But like I could only keep with Jesse for like a minute or so, and then I just kind of like stressed me out, so I just like let him, like I'd have to just be like, nah, fuck this. But you kind of can stick with someone that good, but you just have to be willing to do it. So I was always content driven, so I'd like a minute's good, so I'd just ride with them for a minute, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm done.
Interesting.
So you were like the drone.
I'm like a drone, like a little living drone. And so yeah, I just try to do like as many different bits and bobs, and sometimes my race day footage I'd be showing like what I've gone through, and like, oh, we're doing another climb, or now we've a hike, a bike, different things like that. And then I kind of got to a point where it was more just doing the last stage on race day and like getting as many clips and maybe some bike like tech bits, but it was always changing, and then I got to start putting stuff like on as a reel or carousel, and I got that opportunity, and then it just, once I asked him, I was like, look, I want to do more, and
why do you think it's important? Like, what's the outcome of this? Like, you like the bigger picture of it. Are you inspiring people? Is the idea to inspire people to go riding, or what?
I think it's my own insatiable like curiosity. So I may as well be pointing a camera at it, because I'm asking, these questions are not something I've sat down the night before and thought about. Yeah. These are just absolute spur of the moment. Ooh, what's that? What's that in your bike? And they're like, ooh, don't look at that, Dan. I'm like, oh, okay. But like, can we talk about this? And can I kick your new derailleur? Because you can kick them now. Like, I just find it all really interesting. I do. Kira's always not slagging me, but she's like, you know, you're quite strange, because your job and your passion and your hobby and even your social outlet, it's all that one world, and you know, that's very rare, and I don't really get burnt out from bikes, and I just love them that much. So I kind of, the camera is a great way of, or the phone is a great way of opening doors, but I do ask these questions, and I do watch riders and what they're doing regardless. And I will notice the difference when I bounced on Brendan's bike and then I looked at that canyon gap, I was like, whether he knows it or not, this really heavy spring rate is helping him carry more speed as he gets G'd out, because he can't go as deep into the travel, therefore he'll carry more speed in the G out. And I was like, that is so smart. And then you tell me today, it's like, well, Brendan, like, sometimes just like he just sets things up, but like, it doesn't overthink. So I'm like, how conscious did he set that up to be hard for, say, some of the drops on his line, but it just had a really nice byproduct of helping him out in the G outs? Because he wouldn't have been able to get that gap if he had his normal downhill bike setup. He wouldn't have carried that speed.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Like, also, I've probably got a skewed vision as well, because he probably, even if it was all completely deliberate, he probably wouldn't talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, are you aware that you offer a lot of insight when you're doing it, as you're doing it, or is it just you're interested?
No, I think that's something, and sometimes I've maybe struggled, and we had a chat about this over the last day, is like understanding your relevance or your value in an industry. And sometimes I definitely struggle to understand maybe my own value, because I'm doing what I love, and then when I'm given a platform, I'm like, oh, great. But then I'm too close to it to really know its impact. So it's been really nice when you're like, oh, I loved your Rampage coverage, but I just got let off up that mountain, and they were like, you do what you want, as many posts as you want, understand the posting cadence, as long as the video, if you want to put up a combination of interviews, bike checks, riding footage, carousel, whatever, you do you. And I've been, and like, honestly, it has been great. I've been given a lot of freedom, and next year it's going to be even bigger. I'm going to be at a lot more events for Pinkbike, and it's cool. But yeah, it is weird. Like, I don't sometimes understand the impact I might have. It's very nice to hear that like people enjoyed that, because I am just doing what I would I'm just doing what I want to do, but I don't know.
And you're in it, so see outside it.
I don't know how calculated I am. Say if I had to do like a certain persona, like,
can you do some now?
I'll just do like that interviewer voice.
Could you?
I'm getting a bit nervous now.
I know. Yeah,
you'd make a great podcast.
Yeah,
I'm a bit lazy though. Yeah.
Why? What?
I don't know. You're like disciplined, and you're like, we got to do this like this day and this week and all. I guess you can just like build it up, and then you can get into a nice rhythm. Whereas like when I excel is like at events, like I'll get up early,
off the cuff.
Yeah, and I'll do up, like someone throws me in, like I'll talk to a random person, and then you're creating content, and then I'm doing that till 1 a.m. and then I'll go and repeat it the next day, and I'll do that for a week. But then I'll go home and watch like Stranger Things and decompress for a few days, and just like not go ride my bike. And you know what I mean? Like I think because of racing, I'm really into like those highs. And then I just like the nice like little slump afterwards where you're like, oh, poor there.
I mean, it's mega hard access to get. Like when you think about it, I know it's like stories and it's disappeared and stuff, but it's so hard to get people to talk.
Yeah.
For people to feel comfortable. It's so hard to follow a top EDR racer down 1 minute of a track.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Like all of those things are really hard, but I guess it's just a bit, I get what you're saying. It's hard to work out the value of that.
I think it is hard, but I think the reason why I've gotten such great access over the years is because, say is what you want about me, and I can so nicely self-deprecate, like I can slag the shit out of myself, but you can't take away my passion and love for sport. So when I'm at events, it's not fabricated. It's real. It's authentic. So when I ask people about something, it's because I'm curious, and then hopefully, and this when you were like, oh, that coverage was good. Hopefully then I'm asking the right questions because I'm interested. So,
and curiosity gets you so far.
Yeah.
Because I think especially with this, it makes it really easy, because I guess most people that will be watching or listening are like, they want to ask something, but it's usually same as what we'd want to ask. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're just doing what they'd love to do if they were there.
And I don't really overthink stuff.
You have the access to do it.
Yeah, I'd ride a track and I'm like, oh, I really struggled.
Yeah.
And maybe I did a bit of puzzling with my suspension, and then I'll ask them, I'm like, did you change your setup from the last round? Because this round's very different. And then sometimes I get answers I never expected. So getting to do it, and then people kind of would see like, oh, it's Wolfie. Yeah, jump in behind me. It's cool. Like, it's Dan. And it's nice then. And then with that kind of, I guess, like I respect all these racers, I really do, and what they do is not easy, and they make it look easy. And I think they know that, you know. And then, you know, getting Sam Hill or Richie to laugh and loosen up on camera is like full on, because they're quiet, they're very shy people, and you're just like, this is amazing, you know. I'm privileged to be around that and to know all these people, and should hopefully be taking it to more freeride events and downhill events next year. But I think it's a big thing is always going in and trying to read the tone. And that was something I was curious about with Rampage. It's like, look, a lot of risk. They're building, they're tired, it's hot, it's windy, fucking scary. So, you know, trying to understand the tone from group to group. And yous were hilarious, but not every group was like that. You know, some of them were very in the zone, serious. And everyone, it's a coping mechanism, isn't it?
Yeah.
So everyone has a different vibe, and it's just trying to, I guess I've been around the racing enough, and I've done it, I've lived it. So you're trying to like pick up on those things, and then just...
You couldn't throw anybody into that situation.
No.
Maybe not everyone.
I would really love to watch you fail in that situation. It'd be like a Louis Theroux. You know what I mean? It'd just be so awkward and like... I mean, really satisfying, wouldn't it?
I probably have, but then that footage I just never comes out. Yeah. And I wouldn't just start off being like, hey guys, and like videoing it. Like I'd always go in and be like, is it alright if we do a bit of chatting here? I video.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like, you know, the dirt jump scene. I'm kind of lucky in a weird way. The dirt jump scene in Ireland when we were younger with the BMXers was a bit scary, and you turn up, and if you're on a mountain bike, they're like, make you feel awful, and it's very like, God. But I think from that you're just like, okay, you know, for in certain areas of sport, when people have a lot of passion for something, you need to be able to spot that from a mile away, and then come in with a certain amount of reverence or respect. And you're not devaluing yourself, you're just going, look, I can see what you're doing, you know, you're a little creative master and you're really enjoying what you're doing, so I'm going to respect you, but would you mind opening up to me, and can we have a look? And I think if you do that sort of stuff, they're like, fuck, okay, like, you know, you've pressed the right buttons. But I'm not doing it out of, I'm not clever enough to manipulate, but I'm doing it because I get it. Like, I'm like, okay, you know what? Everyone's different. So for some people, it is like, it is an art for some people. Yeah. And like you said, would you still be doing this if it wasn't a Pinkbike or whatever? Yeah, I did this anyway. So that's why, like, I used to ask people, or can I follow you? Or just for the sheer love of it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to follow. I followed Sam Hill one time, a few times actually. I'm like, Sam, can I follow you, please? And he's like, yeah, right. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, right, you weirdo.
Yeah. And it's like, and then when, you know, you learn Sam Hill knows your name, you're like, oh my God, Sam knows me. But like, yeah, you were all just kids. And I'd be doing it regardless. And now I just happen to luckily be in a position where people want to see what I want to see.
Yeah. It's really cool.
I guess.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Keep it up, dude. Killing it.
Thank you.
Killing it. Have we got time for listener questions?
That's 10 fingers of minutes.
We have listener questions.
We've got. I only put it up late last night, so I haven't looked.
Wait, from me?
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah, dude.
Will any
they
of the
might not
questions
be bizarre. They might just be like, some of them are like, what's your favourite colour? Let's do it. We got one from
green
at John DH something. How big are your feet? He said.
Yeah. My feet are 45s, and they've got a nice, elegant high arch with a wide frontal area and medium to long toes.
And they've been relaxing on that table all podcast. I'm impressed by that, dude.
Really out there.
You've sunk into this.
Yeah, I'm quite a relaxed unit.
Natural.
Yeah, relaxed.
We got a
muscle.
listener question from the one and only, the Deaconator. Who had the craziest line at Rampage?
Brendan. Because it's the least likely line. Him and Zink were the last line I'd want to ride. Because Zink went straight out the front door and he went left, and it was like he had really shit real estate to work with because everyone else had sculpted in their line. And he had to nail onto this big rock, and if he didn't get that, his run was done before it started.
Right.
And then after that was actually quite a large drop, which people couldn't really see. And then some floaters down, and then a series of like big drop, massive skipper. They called it a skipper, but it was 50 foot. And then that step down, which he put a little lip, never even tested it, just put a lip on it once he'd done the flat lip. There was just too much in his line that, like, it's undeniable. People are all moaning about Rampage and Zinc and this and that, but it's like, that line, rank. And then Brendan, freak. So in really complimentary way, like, you absolute freak, but a legend. But I like that line, I can only put it in terms of what would I do and what would I not want to do. And the line I would have to do if I was forced to Rampage would be Bienve's line. 100%.
Interesting.
It's the first line I would do, because you're chilling the whole top. You come across the ridge line, you go across, you got some floaters and stuff, and you're like, okay, here we go. You're getting this run, which is always nice. As a racer, if I have a run that starts off a bike park, I'm like, brilliant. And then you can have weird stuff, and that's when his features get bigger. Now he's doing massive tricks. But if I was forced, his first, Brendan or Zink's last.
There you go.
Yeah,
I think Zink's flip was really out there.
Oh,
Like, it was really out there. The pull, it was slightly corked.
Yeah.
And, like, you only noticed how fast he's moving forwards when he pulls for a flip.
Yeah.
It's a wild man move. Like,
I was up near it, so I got to, like, really see it in the run, and, like, it's just, like, the level of commitment.
Yeah.
Like, the willingness to die. Actually, to the point where he's not even thinking or caring that he could die, but, like, there was a sheer willingness. And he also nearly missed the landing.
Yeah.
Like,
and the lip.
The internet needs to calm down about, like, it's vicious. Like, what he did, he's an absolute weapon. Fair play.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Right, we got one from the Slug Club. Riding without gloves. Hero/weirdo. Is it all about feel?
It is, yeah. I think your contacts, your, with your shoes, your hands, and your tyres, and your brakes, things like that, really, really important. And I found as I've gotten older, I've gotten more into, like, the feel of things, and, like, it's all very important to me. And yeah, gloves, like, I just hate gloves. I can't ride them. I need good grips, no gloves, and I'm away. And I don't really suffer with cold hands, so I'll ride in the winter without gloves happily. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Tough.
That's a cheat code, that's a life cheat code.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And you're quicker to draw the phone and go, hey guys, it's Dan Wolfe here, and all that crap.
It's your boy.
It's your boy, Danny. So it's just easier to do, to get the bangers.
To farm media.
Oh, absolutely farm it, cultivating it.
Dude,
The content cultivator.
All right. Fit for racing. Can you still squat, on the leg subject, can you still squat 553 kg at a body weight of 60?
Yeah, that was so good, man. They photoshopped that, and they didn't photoshop that. But of course, like an absolute unit. Yeah, I've full depth, and they're real weights.
You trained a lot. Did you train with?
I did a full off season with John, and really loved it. But because I started kind of doing different types of training towards the end, but because all the media stuff was going well, it was like easy to get distracted and be like, oh well, do I need to be like, look at the fact, like I'm big, I'm not small. Like, do I need to be a little skinny, fit? Like, does it matter? Because I'm there to do a different type of job, and that was the priority. So it's interesting. But I have now, I'm kind of like, I've got hoping next year of like kind of a newer motivation just to be healthier and like lighter and stuff, just for my own kind of thing.
New year, new you sort of thing.
Maybe, but we'll start that.
The AG1 will help.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh, that was a nice segue.
Yeah, that'll really help.
Yeah, it should help.
I'll give you one of them.
On board now.
But it's interesting with the training. I do actually like it all. I do like an absolute mission on the bike though. Like, I've done a few whopper. Like, I did an Everest one year during lockdown. That was on my own. Weird time.
Wow.
Dark times.
Yeah, that's gnarly.
Like Frodo on the way to...
So we're almost out of juice on the memory card.
Oh, yeah.
Overview of what's to come. What's the future for Dan Wolfe, and where can people follow and find you?
Well, they can find me...
Well,
they'll find me in Ireland. I going to be doing a lot more with Pinkbike, which is brilliant. Like, day-to-day running of their Insta or their social accounts, and then be a lot more events, which is great. Down at World Cups, it may seem.
Nice.
And Rampage and Hardline maybe, and there's still some things up in the air. We're figuring it out, but and also be doing some presenting, which I've the opinion now when I just go, oh yeah, I can do that, and you just throw yourself into the position. So I want to do more presenting. It looks like they're gonna let me do that, which is lovely. And then helping Polygon with bike development and their kind of marketing team and stuff. So I'm getting to continue working with them, which I'm really excited about. That'll be 6 years, and FSA and a few other bike brands. So I'm doing what I love. I'm very, very lucky. Like, especially after what's happened this year going to next year for a lot of teams and riders. Yeah. I'm in a different position. I am very grateful and lucky.
Well done.
He's railing ruts and nailing different pieces of media content.
Yes, that was
Nice.
that was good.
really
Yeah,
good.
it's
Maybe
good.
we could
got
let
worried.
you.
Yeah, see, I reined it in.
Yeah.
Many thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
To everyone.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
And to all a happy new year.
Like and subscribe. Then
Cue
unsubscribe.
Christmas music.
Then like and subscribe again.
And then comment, and then tell us your favorite chocolate biscuit.
Yeah.
How you like your tea, and do you leave the tea bag in? Do you even drink tea? Do you like hot drinks? And just tell us a few things about yourself. Cheers.
Thank you for watching this episode. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
We really enjoyed it, didn't
Yeah.
we? Hey, if you want to click for more here,
Yeah, and even more down there.
Yeah.
Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe.
peace and love.
Like and subscribe.